and and we mainly work in the area of building robust content and training for our member developers. French Dada has always encouraged us to have a studious and academic approach to decision making in our businesses. We have to make difficult decisions on an everyday basis, and the more studied we are, the more informed decisions we make, which is why we're very proud to have this association with IIM Bangalore, which is considered the zenith of academia in the country today. Professor Venki Panchapagesan, who heads the real estate research initiative at IIM Bangalore, has been kind enough to curate these amazing 6 sessions for us. Each of these sessions will be a lecture from a celebrated professor at IIM Bangalore, and is tailor-made to address pain points that we face in our industry today. So these lectures will have concrete, real takeaways that delegates can implement immediately in their businesses. I'm very excited today because today we have Professor YLR Moorthy, who's a professor of marketing at IIM Bangalore. And I'd like Professor Venki Panchapagesan to introduce him, but I'd just like to say that he was the Professor of the Year 2020 at IIM Bangalore this year. So and he's considered a cult personality on campus. So I'm excited to have him. Professor Venki, can you please introduce our professor?
Sure. Thank you. I think you read it all. Professor Moorthy and the cult personality together. And I think whenever you get that tag from MBA students, it is a very honored tag. So again, welcome to all of you. This is our 5th session out of 6, as Nilesh pointed out. The idea is for IIM professors to share the latest in both in terms of the research and the pedagogy related to various areas of business. We have already covered areas such as negotiations and so far. So now today we'll be talking about brand, and I think whenever we talk about brand within IIM Bangalore, the professor who is synonymous to that word brand is Professor YLR Moorthy. So I'm really excited and happy to have him be part of the CREDAI journey. He has been one of our professors from the first batch that we had 7 years back. So he's still as active and as enthusiastic about getting to the classroom and teaching the real estate developers whatever he knows about branding. So with that, I want to leave the floor. Just on the last session next week, we will have Professor Jose on reimagining strategy in the post-COVID world. And along with it, we will also share something about the IIMB CREDAI program, so that, in case you want to come to campus down the road, we will be starting our next batch in January of 2021. Welcome to you all again, and thank you. Thanks, Nilesh. You can take it over.
So now can you make a presentation?
Screen is on the Moorthy sir's system only, so but we are unable to see.
Yeah. Okay. The noise would not be going on, so no. Stand. I can see this. I'm not able to see myself. Yes. Oh, I have to stand there. I'm not seeing this. Should I? Yeah. Yeah. Fine. Good afternoon. And nice standing in front of you, though, all those words that Venki spoke about me, pay no attention to that. He probably wrote it about most of us. And that makes my job a little more difficult. So we started at 4:42. I promised to end at 5:42 because it's not exactly a pleasure to sit in a classroom on a Saturday evening. So if you, I think the format has already been put in. Anything you want, I think towards the last 15 minutes we will. So I'll stop the presentation at, let's say, 5:27, and then you can have your questions then. Is that okay? Shall we start?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay, sir. Good, sir. First, let's start with this. Where to begin? So if we start there, from avoiding COVID to living with COVID, I think that's a context. There's a big context in which we are actually living right now. So far, we have been trying to avoid this. I think now we have come to a point where the whole world is saying there's no way till we get a vaccine and make it available for everybody, we'll have to live with it. This crisis will be worrying us, but we are limping back, and there are very clear signs that we are limping back. Yeah, the cases are growing, but then even if it's completely finished, it will come back as a second wave and third wave. So you have to wait for the vaccine, and we will stay safe and hope for the best. Now, what do I do? Because reality is tough. Real estate is tough, but then there are industries which is even more dead, like airlines, like hotels, like hospitality. Whole lot of them are actually dead. So that sense, actually, very few industries have taken off. But if you see now, this is what I would do. If I am actually a real estate developer, I would tell this to all my audience, whether they're young or old. Guys, this is the best time to buy real estate. Interest rates will fall for the next 2 years. You must have seen that the Q1 of GDP, which was announced in June, shrunk by minus 23.9%. It means the massive shrinkage of GDP. So they will not be able to raise interest rates, and almost anybody who has money, and there are people who have money right now, this is a golden opportunity. And now I am running around you. You can say now I am running around you. I'll be honest with you. 2 years from now, I'll not be able to offer these prices because then the market will come back. And once the market will come back, it will become pricey. So this is a great opportunity because whenever there is a trough, I think it's very easy. If not from me, buy real estate from somebody, but for God's sake, buy it because this is the time you will not get these rock bottom prices again. I think this is a great way to pitch your story. This window will shut sooner than you think, so don't miss it out. This will be roughly my pitch to anybody who is listening, and everybody and anybody. And I'll use all sorts of media, digital, probably more particularly given the fact that we can't consult with anybody, we can't talk to anybody directly, face-to-face, person-on-person. So using something like FOMO, which is called fear of missing out, I think that would really be the point, because once the prices start going up, again, as it is, real estate is out of reach of many people in this country. It will be even more difficult in future if they don't make use of this opportunity. This would probably be the first thing I would do if I were with them. So where to begin branding? What is the first step in branding anything? Sir, anybody who can answer this, what's the first step in branding anything? Anybody who wants to answer this? Yeah?
I guess speaking out.
Yeah, please.
Just communicating what you offer.
Just communicate your offer. What else? Anything else? Anything else? Okay, let me see. All branding starts with what is called positioning. So, what does positioning mean? Positioning essentially means positioning is the word the brand owns in the mind of the customer. If you're a strong brand, you would own a word in the mind of the customer. What is that word? Castrol means lubricant, MRF means tires, Tata means trust. Yeah? Yeah, so each of them has some, Volvo means comfort. So each of these brands have a word in the mind of the customer. So the question you may want to ask yourself is this: what's the word you as a realty developer will own in the mind of the customer? Because this is more important than the variety of properties, the sort of domains you're in, and so on, because this is really what sets the tone for the brand. It never mind whether you're real estate, perfumes, or washing machines or airlines. I mean, it doesn't matter. Restaurants. I mean, it doesn't matter. But what's the word you own in the mind of your customers is probably crucial. So, who are the customers you can target in something like a COVID crisis? The interesting thing really is businesses that are still earning or people getting their salaries continuously. So, there are some businesses which are still earning even now, and people who are getting their salaries continuously. Who are they? Which are the businesses that are still running well and making money? And therefore, the employees are, and the people in the ecosystem are making money and they have money, etc., etc. And they can get loans. Can somebody give some speculation of the domains that are actually active even now and are making money? Anybody?
So pharmaceuticals?
Very good, sir. Pharma is a very interesting example. Correct. Any others? Pharma is very right. Pharma is actually booming right now. Pharma is booming right now. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, just check. Government servants, state and central. I mean, this is big. PSUs and bank employees. And remember, these are very, very big cohorts. I'll give you the numbers later. The numbers are very big. For instance, 66% of the banking in this country, or maybe 70, is owned by public sector banks. And then public sector enterprises like your BHELs and your BPCLs and ONGCs, lots of employees. So there are one bunch of government employment, which is like millions of people. That's one big chunk. And then there's IT. Information technology, I think a whole bunch of them are actually working from home. All the IT service companies like TCS, Wipro, and so on, something like 96% upwards are working from home. Okay, so that's another chunk. Then not just pharma, the whole healthcare domain, which is hospitals, labs, pharmacies, pharma companies, each of them is a very big vertical. Hospitals are a big vertical. Hospitals must be working 24/7. E-commerce, another big thing, because you can't go buy something, people have to. So all these e-commerce fellows must be having a ball, and all the logistics guys must be doing. Education is another vertical, and it's a very big vertical. People are already, I think for the last, we have been running from March, for instance, Bangalore itself. And now all schools, I think, are now running on there was some back and forth in Karnataka, but I think all schools are now functioning online. If anything, the interaction is much more, and the teachers are being asked to work much more. I don't know how much students are working, but teachers are working. Then entertainment, which is cable, internet, Indian, global. This is another huge. All your Balajis and ZTVs and all those fellows, Netflixers and you name it. Press, which is again active as ever. Your Times of India has not stopped, Deccan Herald has not stopped, none of the newspapers have stopped. If anything, new websites and new papers and so on of bringing every day. Some of them are extremely good. Then religion. So what is happening now is all these mutts and so on. These people can't get together. They're doing all these satsangs online. They're very big actually. Even private, congregations are very big now. I mean, you just have to go on Zoom or something and then go online. So this is a very big. This will run into crores of people if you add up this. Yeah. So the question to ask is this a time to look for specific segments which are still doing fine? In the past, we actually had what might be called, we had bullets and which we used to spray and pray and hope that the bullets hit somebody. Now, we actually have specifically, we have to target these people. Some of these verticals, and then that would be a good, that would probably be a good story. So that is here as far as, so remember there's also an elite class of people running these kind of companies. There are dealers and suppliers for these companies. It's not just the employees. In short, there is an entire ecosystem of people. Sorry. In each of these sectors who are ready to buy. Which means there are opportunities across price ranges. And it's not just high and medium, but depending on who the guy is, there are people, and I have seen recently in some of these register offices now, I mean, the crowd is as good or as bad as it always was. There are huge quantity, numbers of people even. So I think Bangalore and some of the South Indian cities of story as well. So now how to target specific segments. How to position a house for investment. Okay? So, for instance, let us say if we are targeting a city or a town, how do you target that? Which areas in the city or the town to target? Can somebody give me some hint of how to? Give me a feel for? Yeah. Which areas in a city or a town to target? How do we know? Where to? Yes, sir. Any responses to that?
So around hospitals?
Right. One possibility. Though that's not where you want to be located all the time, but let's take that answer. Any other answer? Where do you want to live? Think about it. Where do we normally buy houses?
Someone is saying schools.
Correct. So, okay, so close to my office. So there are close to the business district. Is it close to a prospective or a current metro line? Or is it a rapidly developing area in a city? Or is it in the outskirts of the city, close to the ring road? So there is some proximity to something. Or is it close to a school, as some of my friends were saying? So these are some of the questions we ask. And if you have to target government employees, then this number is really surprising. Just look at this number. The salary bill of the central government is projected at 1.74 lakh crores. Just to give you a perspective, that is actually 12 zeros. Huge actually. For the coming year. Pension bill is even bigger. Yeah? So even retired fellows can go and buy for a second home if they want. Add all the emoluments to central and state employees, the total bill works to 10 lakh crores. I mean, that's a crazy number. Those 1 and 2 and so on that you see in the square brackets, they are references. So if you want, I can share the references with you later. All these people are regularly getting salaries. What kind of houses to target for, let's say, government service? What do you think? So this is what I meant. I mean, you have to look at specific segments and see what is it that these fellows want and what can we do for them. Yes, sir. Any guess on this? Anything you want to say on this? What kind of houses to target for these days?
Anything that provides more than a government, than a facility provided by the government.
Correct. Because what happens is they are given, but at the end of the career, you have to vacate and go, just as we do it in IIM. So, something that is good and nice and so on. And usually the government salaries are not very high, like the private sector. Jobs are safe, but they're not very high. So middle of the road, mid-price housing kind of houses. That's my speculation, because an average government servant will not be able to afford the high-end houses. Then there are PSUs, public sector organizations like the steel plants and so on. Because those people stay in the city itself, steel city itself, or the BHF. But after retirement, they would like to have a house. So definitely they would buy houses. In any case, housing is also seen as an investment in India. So bank employees is another big thing, public and private. So remember, PSUs and PSBs are just themselves 10 lakh and 8 lakhs respectively. The number of employees. Railways have a very huge staff. 12 lakhs staff is a very, very big staff. How to get all these people are given houses when they are many of them are given houses when they are in service, but after that, how to get to these people? Suppose you have to go to the bank employees and PSUs and PSBs and so on. Any guess of this? How do we target these people? How do we get to them? Because we are now talking about a very specific segment. Is there a way of reaching these guys? Yes, sir. Any answers? Any speculation? Any questions? Anything? How to get to these folks?
Approach them through associations or
Correct.
bodies that are represented by them.
Correct. That's right. In fact, should you tie up with ministries? Should you tie up with staff unions? Staff unions are a very powerful body. Even now, though the public sector bank employees are not, their unions are not as strong as they always were. They still have a union and they have representatives and so on. Their general secretaries and so on. You can actually meet people who can give you access to a huge number of them. And it's just a question of actually having a tie-up with the staff union or a welfare association and so on. That will actually make it very, very interesting, because then imagine if you can actually find a gateway to railways. You just look at the number of people who get opened. Of course, this is a well-known, and in Bangalore, in fact, in all the big cities, this is a big story, targeting IT employees. Pen picture of the IT customer and how to use it. What does pen picture mean? Any idea what pen picture means? Anybody who can tell me what pen picture means? It's not jargon, it's pure simple English. What does pen picture mean?
What an IT customer looks like.
Correct. Perfect. That is, like our parents used to say, close your eyes, aankhein band karo, Bhagwan ka dhyan karo. Okay. Close your eyes, think of God, and are you seeing God? Then your parent asks you, and you somewhat innocently tell him or her, no, I don't see God. Then your parent will tell you, but then you are not concentrating. You should concentrate. So that's how this is. If you are really good at imagining your customer, you should see the customer, whoever it is, whether it is IT or whether it is a housewife or whether it is a kid. It means you should be able to describe the customer picture through words. Picture is usually drawn with lines, right? But a pen picture is you describe somebody through words so effectively and so well that the other person who is hearing to the description or who is hearing the description should be able to see this guy almost, visually be able to imagine this guy. If you give the what are called demographics, sociographics, psychographics, if you give them, you describe them, then you should be able to see them. So this is one big story, work from home. This is a very, very big story actually in IT. Probably the most urgent need for these guys is really this. How to work from home. This gives rise to several types of demand. A house designed with work from home in mind. Modifying an apartment to accommodate work from home. And attending its redundant furniture and the decor and the architecture. I think it's a big, big story. This was never this big. In fact, we never had separate home, rooms and so on for which functioned like offices. It was the first time post-COVID, we are actually looking at something like this. How to design a room for a work from home kind of thing? What is the kind of ambience? Would it be a bare bones kind of an office space, or would it be eco-friendly space with some plants and creepers or whatever, with some kind of ambience inside? What kind of houses should we have there? The third source is actually targeting what we call the real estate itself, which means looking within, targeting the real estate ecosystem. Should we get information of customers from the top 20 brokers in any city? Because these fellows virtually know the whole thing. Look at JLL. What do these people do? Jones, Lang, and Lazo. What do these people do? Any idea?
They're an institutional property consultant.
Correct. Very right. In fact, this is how they describe themselves. They do everything end to end, buy, build, etc., etc. But in India, they do a lot of property consulting, as you very rightly say. Consider the view, and these are very, very interesting and these are very encouraging. And remember, all the references I have here are references that I got post-COVID. Because I didn't take the projections pre-COVID. This is all these things that we are seeing are now post-March, April, and so on. All the references that I'm doing. As per JLL, 9.3 billion square foot of area will be developed by 2025 just for data centers. Just think about it. So imagine what kind of architecture is necessary, what kind of buildings are necessary. That's a huge space in the B2B, in the organizational space. Data centers are going to be very, very big. JLL's home buyer preference survey says, and mark this, 91% of the respondents that were contacted feel that buying is better than renting it. 67% believe that home is a necessity, not a luxury. Please understand this. So, despite the fact that there are depression, whatever, right now, the underlying need for the houses is as strong as it always was. This is even more encouraging. Polled consumers above 35 years indicated that they are more inclined towards buying a property in the next 6 months. Remember, in the next 6 months, mark the words, note this. Yeah, that's it. 35 years old plus are the guys who actually have a lot of money. More than 50% of the prospective home buyers indicated a preference to buy a 2 BHK apartment within so and so square feet. Home buyers are willing to pay a premium for reputed developers, and this is where the branding story comes in. They want to move into ready to move in houses because, give me an advance and, and then wait for the next 3 years. I think all the story is over. You have to deliver homes to me in gated societies, then I'll come and occupy it as it is. I was surprised to see this. Hyderabad and Bangalore rank as number 1 and number 2 in dynamism in a global survey of 130 cities. That's surprising, actually. And this is the number. We keep living about these cities, but then, despite all their problems, they seem to be very popular cities and destinations for investment. Should we focus more on the south? Because one of the things that actually happened even before the crisis was the NCR market actually was crashed in some parts of the country. Then the other question really is, what can we suffer? Because some of these people, I think, Mindspace, some of these people have listed as our REITs. What can we learn from their successful listing? What are the opportunities opening up there for investment, opening up there for getting people together to get properties up and so on. This is important. What's the collective learning of a body like a CREDAI? For instance, CREDAI has been there for some time. At the end of the day, COVID or no COVID, it is a recession, which basically means the market is down. This is not the first recession. This is the first COVID, but this is not the first recession. This is not the first recession. So we must have seen recession. So what do we do? Collectively, what did we do? Is there some memory of this? I think it's extremely important for bodies like CREDAI to record these things. and maybe have some kind of a checklist of a to-do list of something like 15 things that everybody has to do when there is a downturn. That's extremely important for, forward-looking kind of, because all decisions are alike in terms of how they hit demand and so on. So that's fairly predictable. So what we have done last time, because this is not the first time. In the last 15 years, we had at least 2 other serious crashes. 2008 we had a crash. Then much later, actually, there were several crashes in fact. This is something that is actually not done very often. For institutional demand, targeting HRs, human resources department, is a very big, because they are virtually the pujaris for the company. They are the people who talk to employees. The easiest way of getting into a database is pitching an attractive proposition to the human resources company, department of IT, e-commerce, health workers, and so on. I mean, I'm saying going and talking to an Apollo directly, to their management, to their HR, and so on. I'm saying, look, this is the kind of facility we can actually have a kind of a corporate tie-up, and then this is the scheme we can actually lay out for your organization, whether it is Fortis or whether it is, Aster or any of these big things, or for that matter, TCS. And imagine a company like TCS actually has close to 4 lakh employees or probably more. Most of them have 2 lakh, 3 lakh kind of numbers. They're very big. And really big, all these guys. And it's the same. On the other hand, if you look at e-commerce workers and so on, they would probably want more affordable housing kind of a thing. It's interesting, in fact, across the board, as I said, there are opportunities everywhere. And I think HR is one gateway, or the management is one gateway where you can actually go and get some B2B kind of, business to business kind of tie-ups with them. Makes a lot of sense. Then you can roll out some 100, 150 bookings can come in one shot. That will be a great gateway. I'm just looking at what are the gateways for getting into some of the HR function is one thing, and HRM network is another big thing. I mean, human resources management, they have, every part of the country, in fact, has an HRM network, which basically means all these people meet once in a month, once in 2 months, or whatever, and they have conferences. And I'm very sure all those things are happening online. That's again a place where all the HR managers meet, not just one on one. So that's again a great place to go and pitch and say, this is what we can make available. Some of them more articulate among you, and some of them are very articulate. Like I've seen some of the real estate developers. And maybe your management of CREDAI and so on, they can, the office bearers can go and say, this is what we can do. This is what some of our people can do. And if you're interested, then we can go ahead and tie up with HRM networks and HR conferences and so on. Sponsor an HR manager conference where you discuss stress. For God's sake, don't discuss reality there. Let them discuss what they want to discuss, and then your brand name should be seen there. That's how you build a brand. And then tell them actually that, look, these are the things we can give there. Take a 10-minute, 15-minute kind of a break somewhere, and then tell them this is what I'm going to deliver for you. And if it works for both of us, then I can actually have a very big project rolled out for you. One of the PSU banks, in fact, when I told them, I did lots of programs for these people. They in fact implemented this already. So this is from the point of view of financing homes and financing loans, etc. But they actually targeted HR managers, conducted conferences for them, sponsored those conferences, went and did a sales pitch there. Some of them were definitely very effective. As I said, HRM we have already mentioned, so another great source of place to pitch. One other thing you can actually do is go together with a bank and play as an orchestra, which means you also take the financier along with you. That will be great. That will be interesting again. So it will be a go-to-market kind of strategy. This is an interesting thing to do. Make business to business the first port of call, which basically means instead of going to the individual, think of what are the associations or what are the groups in which he is a part. He or she is a part. He is usually a member of some club, usually a member of some association, usually a member of some union, usually is HR for some, is an employee of some company. All these, if you actually convert the B2B part, which means you convert the club, you convert the association, that's much more easy because you just have to talk to the office bearers. And once that is, you have a proper scheme laid out, then a lot of people will actually join. ITKs say they are busy, even if you want to go and talk to them. But if HR recommends, because of a tie-up or a special deal, employees might actually take it. Then for individual employees from this B2B pitch, you can actually go to the B2C, which basically means individual consumers you can go and convince. Once you get a list of people who are interested, that's a very interesting track to take. B2B doesn't give you much. B2B basically gives you the contacts, and from there, individual pitches can actually be worked out, which is again an interesting way of actually dealing with the problem, or so to speak, in skinning the cat. This, of course, is fairly well known. I mean, the PM Awas Yojana website tells us that affordable housing applications can be filled up to 1st March 2022. Now, besides, we now have some rapid construction technologies, I believe. There are some very interesting ways of constructing. Why not some plan some big projects on this? When PMAY was not there, this segment was less attractive. Now it might be more amenable to commercialization. I know of some good realty companies in the country that deliver very big turnaround projects. I don't want to mention specifically those names. In fact, I have specifically done programs for some of them. This is a big puzzle we can crack thanks to some of the sweeteners that are coming from the government. Affordable housing will forever be a need in India. Think of how many people just need a house in urban India, and take it more as an intellectual challenge as to how we can get this done. What is the minimum house? As I said, I have been interacting with our friends in real estate for, I think, for the last 5-6 ever since the first program, as Venki was saying, I have been interacting with them, and they have lots of ideas on how to do this affordable housing kind of a thing. Use your common areas smartly. Sell carpet area, don't sell total area because people don't understand that. They have very interesting ideas on how to go and market this. Just consider this segment. This segment virtually slipped through our fingers if you look at it. The estimated number of people who move is very high. And okay, let me ask a question here. What is the segment that moves most in this country? Which is the most mobile segment in this country? Anybody? Let me see how far you know really in this country. Which is a segment which moves max movement, which shows maximum movement in this country? Not migrant workers, other than that, yeah. Anybody? Okay. If you don't know the answer is women. Okay. Yeah, marriage actually is the reason why there are so many people actually move. That's the biggest source of movement. Not all of them are workers, but remember, not all people who migrate across the borders are actually workers. If you can work with their association and think of some projects, that would be a great thing. I mean, migrant workers and so on. It will be a great win-win for both the reality consumers and the country. And then, this is the good news. The economy is now finally waking up. There is no question. There is also more to it. The economy is surely opening this time. COVID or no COVID. We had what? 7.2.4 or whatever. I don't know what is the lockdown and lockouts, whatever it is. I think we are now fed up with this and people are saying enough is enough. Economy is surely opening this time. There are enough signs for that. The following was reported on August 30th. That was just 4 days back in Hindustan time. 1. September weekend, September 1st, no weekend lockdowns except in containment zone. It means the whole city will be free. Metro starting from 7th September. So you can imagine the crowd that will come in. Okay. Even if they operate at 30 or 40% or even 50% kind of capacities, you're still seeing a lot of people earning back their salaries, and the confidence levels of buying anything will be much higher. 21st September, marriage funeral service capped. Number of people who can attend the marriage increased to 100. 30th September, finally, Moksha with the cinema hall entertainment part likely to open. Okay, so far only likely. But it's very likely to open because the government is now saying, no, take care of yourself. We can't take care of you. Take care of yourself. CNBC-TV18 reported yesterday that airlines will be allowed to operate at 60% capacity. They were actually operating at 30 before. In the last 3 months, Bangalore airport shot 1.4 million passengers. This is not very big, but if you look at it, 4.5 passengers a month is not a bad number. Pretty good. For a lean time. Clearly, from no demand, we are entering a zone of low demand. So, what we had at one point of time was what might be called no demand. And now we are entering what might be called a zone of low demand. But unlike the past, where only IT and healthcare and so on were making money, the next 1 year, a lot of people will actually start making money. And business is back. Many businesses will be back. So, the later thing of lower demand is much more easy to manage than zero demand. Because in some cases, I was surprised. In one of the months, I don't remember when, April or May, Maruti, the most popular car in the country, actually sold zero numbers. I never thought in my lifetime I'll see a situation where Maruti actually sells zero. They actually sold zero. Make no mistake, demand is coming back. The question really is your gunpowder dry? Are you prepared to fire? I think this is the time. All great companies that I know, whenever there was a recession, all great companies, talk of Bharat Forge, talk of L&T, talk of Sundaram Fasteners, talk about all these guys, they did tremendous cleaning up because you can't do anything in COVID time and in the initial lockdown period. They cleaned up all their machines. They did fantastic work, actually kept the whole thing ready. It's like, getting the bride decorated and ready for the ritual. Get everything ready so that the moment they say open, you can rush. Like the Christmas rush in US. Or Big Bazaar, January 26th. The massive stampede once the thing begins. So I'll just summarize what I have said so far. We are now moving from avoid COVID to living with COVID. So the new problems are less likely to be demand, but more like social distancing work. How does it work? How do you get all the migrant workers back? How do we finance, these projects? These will be the new kind of concerns that will come up. They are already, I'm sure, so showing up on your radar screen. We'll have more and more of this. I think it's a good idea to target specific sectors. In the past we were just spraying bullets and praying that they'll hit. I think the spray and pray kind of formula won't work. I think it's a better idea, in fact, to target some of these things. How to design, each of them might have a specific requirement. So what can we do about that might be an interesting way of looking at it. And then we can look at the other things like, shall we target data centers? Because that's a very big thing. Shall we target 30-year-old, 35-year-old home buyers? Because most of them actually are going to buy in the next 6 months. Less than 50 lakhs is about 50% of the people want to buy them. Shall we go and do something interesting in South? Because at least some markets in the South are definitely moving in right now. Consolidating information in real estate, and I think in this, not just CREDAI and Professor Venki has actually been doing a great job with his, realty center. A lot of interesting research is getting done. I think you should engage with them and get some of the insights into how business is getting done in reality. He is himself a great fund of information, but besides that, the publications of theirs is actually a very great idea. It's a very smart idea. I think it's a lead of the opinions of leading brokerage firms. Examining JLL reports at CREDAI level is disseminating information. In fact, this could be a very interesting source of information because they have lots of forward-looking reports. We can buy them at CREDAI level. A generic strategy basically is start with B2B and move to B2C, which means convert the company, convert the association, convert the union, convert the HR, convert the HRM, and then move to the individual customers. Once you get the list of customers, then let's go and make B2C kind of approach. B2B is a basket of contacts like HR, HRM, and so on. And eventually, once you get those contacts and you talk to them and so on, and then you will go and make individual pitches where individuals or families are actually targeted after that because you know the list of people who are there in the store. This is finally the question you want to ask, because at the end of the day, the whole story is basically, what is the word you want to own in the mind of the customer? I think that's the biggest thing. Is it reliability? Is it trust? Is it happiness? Is it celebration? Is it investment? What is the word you want to own in the mind of the customer? And each of you should own a different word so that you don't compete with each other unnecessarily. Then everybody will have a distinct kind of a market share for what they want to do and how they want to deliver and what is it that they can do and others can't. That's how you stand out in the market. Okay? So the question is very simply this. Demand is coming back. Okay? The only question is, are you prepared? And how much preparation have you done? I think as it stands, I'm something like 1 minute late, so I have closed it at 17:28. Now we have another 15 minutes, so you can start asking your questions. If you have questions, you can. I think Nikhil or somebody can take the initiative and start posing the questions, and I'll answer to the best of my ability. Yeah. Yes, sir. Any questions? Any comments?
Sir, so you spoke about FOMO. I think my question was, how important is FOMO in today's sales landscape, especially when it comes to selling real estate?
Yeah.
And I think Bangalore and Pune are very similar markets because our audiences are similar.
Okay.
So what is your take on how FOMO can be used to sell real estate?
I think that we have already mentioned. Essentially, we said, look, boss, the kind of prices you're getting, you won't get again. Well, the prices will go up. Once 2 years from now, that was the first thing I said, if you remember. Whatever prices we are offering right now, I don't know. Yes, there is a recession, so we real estate fellows are running around. 2-3 years from now, I don't know if this will be the same, and it is very unlikely that the demand will be the same. Very, very unlikely, because remember, every country in the world is land scarce. Just see the traffic jams we are having everywhere. And this city, which has started as a small city, Malleshwaram and Basangudi and so on, just look at how big it has become. We have to develop both horizontally as well as vertically. And even having something like a Noida and some of these like Ghaziabad and Gurgaon, even then, the crowd is so big actually. Something 3 crore people or 3.5 crore people. So cities are actually becoming almost bursting at seams. So I don't see the demand actually reducing, except that I think the ability to convince them that, look, this is the time. When the market is down, this is the time actually to go and buy. You have invested far too much in gold already. And gold is at what? 50,000, 60,000? What is it? What's the price?
Yeah, it's between 45 and 50. Yeah.
Next, eminent sense, in fact, to put it in real estate, because it's there for the next how many years? Again, this is not the only thing. You're investing in several other assets, but a roof on your head is something that you can always invest on. And at least in some cities like Hyderabad, Bangalore, and so on, there's enough and more to grow. In fact, in terms of everything, including rents, everything will be there. So that's how you use FOMO. Because don't miss out this time, because you may actually not get the same price again. Yeah.
Great.
That's the answer to the question. Yeah.
Another question was, you spoke about the concept of having a pen picture, which I thought was very interesting. In fact, in my organization, we do this activity of having the salesperson, or when you're brainstorming as to what campaign you're going to roll out, we try to draw the customer. And when you sit down and draw the customer, you realize that you see yourself thinking about whether my customer has a beard or not, what kind of clothing my customer wears, and stuff like that. In your opinion, what are some traits or characteristics that are the biggest decision makers, that play the most important role in decision making for that customer?
Okay. What we need to do is really, there are 2-3 things we need to do. In fact, everything will come through if we get the pen picture right. Let me take you to completely different domains so that it's very easy for all of us to understand. Remember, the same product might actually have several pen pictures. Because there might actually be an employee, there might be a businessman, so their psyche is different, their investment is different. The way they look at it is different. So the decision makers will also be different in each of these cases. But let us take something like ready-to-eat food. Okay, ready-to-eat food, which means basically something like a noodles. Now, if you look at the people who actually buy, we have identified something called 9 pen profiles. Okay, 9 pen pictures we have identified. First is what might be called overloaded housewife. Okay, this is a label. Overloaded housewife. Are you able to see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So also, career woman in a hurry. Second profile. Okay. Third profile. Bored hosteler. Okay. Fourth profile. Employed bachelor. Okay. Fifth profile. Kids. Sixth. Non-resident Indian who is homesick. 7. Global travelers from India. Are you seeing? These are the people. Now, each of them has a different way in which they consume. An entrepreneur looks at a house very differently. He might look at it actually as an opportunity, might be even be looking at it as an investment. According to K.K. Mistry and Aditya Puri, the 2 big guns actually of housing in this country, they're saying that most consumers in this country actually buy for themselves. And unlike the West, there is very little speculation actually at the individual level. Property dealers might actually be speculating. At the individual level, there is very little speculation. Most of them are one of the 2 things. One, either I live myself or I invest in it for some future kind of a thing where I can get some rental, this thing, inflation-free kind of thing. So, I think the most important thing in real estate essentially is probably asking the question, what are the names of the pen profiles? Like the overloaded housewife, like the bored hospital. What are the 5, 6, 7 labels that we can look for each of the real estate customers? And once you get the label, you'll get probably 1 million customers behind that label. I mean, just look at this question of how many people are there, how many overloaded housewives are there. If you ask this question, you'll get 1 million or 2 million or 30 million people actually be summarized by that label. So also if you ask the other question of, tell me the labels that are actually applicable to all these real estate buyers. Okay? Then you can actually look at commercial separately, the residential separately, draw individual pen pictures, look at what each of them needs. I have a suspicion you'll get something like 6, 7, 8 profiles for residential. You'll get an equal number probably for the B2B, though I suspect the B2B profiles will be fewer and they are more like each other than. But if you look at a villa buyer and if you look at an affordable kind of a buyer, it's very, very different. So I think we need to understand first the label, then we need to get the what might be called the demographic, sociographic, psychographic characteristics. Demographics means what is the age, as you were saying very rightly. Age, height, weight, gender, income, region, religion, geography, where this person lives and so on. That is demographics. Geography sociographics is basically you, your family, your friends, opinion leaders, reference groups, and so on. And then finally, what might be called psychographics, which means is this person a risk-averse person or a risk-taking person? Is he an extrovert or an introvert? So if you look at it, this completely gives you a picture of the person end to end. And the ability to imagine and having a dialogue with this person. Remember, When you communicate to the label, not to the individual customers. You communicate to the overloaded housewife. You can see the ads which are actually targeted like this. Specifically for profiles, there is certain, the communication is targeted. So if you look at a more nuanced picture of several pen profiles, so there are three things we need to know. One, we need to know the label. Two, we need to know the psycho-demographic profile of the customer. And third thing we need to do is the story of this customer. I think that's extremely important. The story of this customer, what is this fellow getting? For instance, this housewife or this professional working woman who has to get into a local at, let's say 8:30 or 8:35 in Jayanagar station, then go all the way to, let us say, Majestic, from there take another train, go to Vayapanahadi. These that you have to understand her daily routine. And what might be called lifestyle? How do we understand the lifestyle of a person? And to understand the lifestyle of a person, you should have observed three things: their attitudes, their interests, and their opinions. What is their attitude? What is their interest? And what is their opinion? On several things in life. The more you know of this, the more you know of the person. So that's the point. I'll summarize again what I said very quickly in 3 lines. 1. First, get the pen picture of the person and get the label. Second, get the socio-psycho-demographic characteristics of that label. Third, get the story of the label. If he's a kid trying to consume Maggie, what is that fellow's story? Get the story of that fellow. So if you know these three, communication becomes extremely important and targeting the customers becomes very, very easy. And everything will sort out by itself. I hope that's a rather long answer, but I hope that answers the question. Okay.
Yes, that was fantastic.
Yeah, probably take one more question, maybe.
Sure. So another question that we got was you had an article in the Wall Street Journal which headlined "Be Breakfast or Become Breakfast." So
I'll tell you. Have breakfast or be breakfast. That is the title of the article. Yeah, correct.
Have breakfast or be breakfast.
Correct.
How relevant is this in today's time? And what are the nuances that one must take care of to not become breakfast or not be breakfast?
Okay. If you have read the article, then you know the answer already. In fact, in business, there's only one way of surviving. Okay? Only the paranoid survive. Like Buddha, a great thinker, India produced, was saying, you have to run like your hair is on fire. Imagine if your hair is on fire. You'll run like crazy to get some water source where you can dip your head. That's the way you have to be if you're in business, because I remember long back I saw a film called Ardhasatya, in which the boss, Om Puri, is a very straightforward kind of cop. He's a, no nonsense, straightforward kind of a cop. His boss, that fellow Shafi Namdar, is a very cynical Bombay cop. He's seen too much in life. And he says, don't be an idiot. Think about this. He says, police ki naukri aisi hai. I'll translate this later into English. Police की नौकरी ऐसी है जो सोते हुए ही आंखें खोल के रखना पड़ता है. Even when you are sleeping, okay, you should keep your eyes open. Only those fellows will survive. That's the first thing. I mean, businesses, you just don't know what will come and hit you. How many things did we imagine? How many people thought that it would be cold? How many people thought that Donald Trump will get elected? Not many people. How many people thought that Narendra Modi will get more majority than he got in the past? Many people thought he would come back, but nobody thought that he would get even more seats than the past. That's what happened. How many people imagined Brexit? All these things happened in the last 10 years, and they were very, very big shocks to the global system. So almost anything can actually happen, and being prepared for the inevitable is a very, very interesting thing. And to the other question that you asked, which is, how relevant is have breakfast and be breakfast or be breakfast, whatever, that is always relevant. And the reason for that is very simply this. Remember, whoever you see as your competitor is not the only guy. There are competitors who are hidden and they are substitutes. They will always be there. It's just that the substitute suddenly becomes attractive at some point of time. For instance, if you look at the example that was given at that point of time was this. The biggest music company at that point of time was actually Bharti, not Saregama. And the reason for that was they were making more money out of caller downloads, caller tune downloads, than these people were actually making by selling music. This was about 7-8 years back when the story began. When there is a recession or when there is a downturn, suddenly travel is stopped and video conferencing will take off. Did you ever see video conferencing as a competition for airline or bus or train? We did. But suddenly they became competitors. Yeah? The biggest car company in the world, the company that owns probably most cars, or the probably largest number of cars, doesn't even own cars. Look at something like a Ola or a Uber. They don't own any of those cars. But they are the biggest buyers of cars, if you look at it. I mean, or the network is the biggest buyer of cars. Not many people. A whole lot of products that we thought were there and will be there with us for a very long time. Think about this. How many of you are using a fountain pen now? Very few. Most of us are using ball pens. How many of us have seen a black and white film in a movie hall? When was the last? How many of us have used a film to shoot something, in fact, in a camera? We have now digital photographs. How many of us have actually seen a typewriter and when was the last time you used them? You are now using the computer as a typewriter. Ask this question. How many of us have gone to circus and how frequently? But what was it when we were kids? When I was asking somebody, why don't people see this circus? Then somebody was telling me, sir, why do you need to go to watch circus anything outside? There's enough circus going on all the channels. There's no need to go anywhere. So the meaning of entertainment has changed. I have given you at least the names of 6 or 7 industries which are completely melted down in our lifetime. More industries will go that way. So there's only one change, one constant, as I say, that is change. One last thing, and I think I'll close with this. There's a very interesting book called Anti-Fragile. ANTI, fragile is FRAGILE. Anti-Fragile. It's a very interesting book written by a person called Nicholas, NICOLAS, Nassim, and Taleb, TALGB. And he says, instead of running away from redefinitions, instead of running away from disruptions, embrace them because they make you better. For the first time, have you seen it after COVID, men started actually working in the house. Otherwise, these fellows were actually pretending to be busy all the time. Now, suddenly, they realize that boss, that can't done because the servant maids can't come in. You suddenly started picking up new skills. You suddenly started enjoying with your family, which you never did before. Everybody was acting busy. So, if you see almost every redefinition, every difficulty, every disruption which suddenly comes, many times we run away. And I think that is really not the way to. Almost all the economies that have fought adversity. What was the resources that a Japan has? Zero, nothing. What are the resources that a Singapore has? Zero, nothing. What are the resources that a South Korea has? Nothing. Look at our resources. Why are we not as developed? They can't afford to be lazy. They have to work 24 hours just to export, just to live hand to mouth. That's the kind of challenge those countries have. We are suffering from plenty. That's the reason we are squandering so much. I can't think of any other country in which you get so much sunlight and so many types of seasons everywhere, except probably Russia, China, US, and there are far better than countries like this, like us. Every flora, every fauna, every vegetable, everything. We're wasting all the vegetables. 30-40% of our vegetables are wasted. So, fact of the matter is this. We have to get our act together. And more importantly, I think, stop running away from crisis. Embrace crisis. You'll learn a huge number of skills that will be useful later when the thing goes off. It's often said that if a doctor really has to learn something, if a doctor has to really train himself, then I believe the best place for learning that is the emergency ward of a government hospital. I repeat, emergency ward of a government hospital, some of the toughest cases land up there. If you don't run away from there, you'll become an incredible kind of a doctor, because the kind of complications you see there, you won't see anywhere else. It feels like ragging in the first 1 or 2 or 3 years, but after that, once you become an expert, then the whole world will come to you. So I think the lesson that's coming for us, not just from that article, but also from COVID and everything else, is running away from difficulties is not exactly the answer, because the difficulty will not leave you. Acquiring new skills is really what we should do. I think this is a great time. I am learning digital. I never booked anything on Amazon, to confess with you. For the first time I did it after this thing. For the first time I'm actually using Google Pay. I never used it before. Okay, we have refused, in fact, for a very long time to do that. But that's what it is. It forces you to do something. It forces me now to learn all these techniques of Zooms and. So this is a great opportunity. Instead of passing it up and saying, cursing fate and so on. I think since only the paranoid survive, I think let's do better and let's work. And I'm sure there is a great tomorrow, because this is not the end of the world. Spanish flu has passed. More people in India died because of malaria and pneumonia than COVID. So, this too shall pass. Fact of the matter is, we have to get ready. Can we keep the gunpowder ready and get ready to fire? By the way, the market is already opening. It's already opening and it has already opened. I think it's just a question of time, we'll get traction. Be prepared. I think there are great days ahead. Not immediately, but those of you who have worked, I think will see great days ahead. That's it, and thank you very much. I think I've also already crossed the time that I'm supposed to spend with you. It's difficult to sit in a conference or in a online class for more than an hour. That will seriously test your patience. So I would like to stop and thank you very much for your patient hearing on a Saturday afternoon. I hope it was useful. Thank you very much.
Yes, I think it was a great session, sir, and I think this was a great value add for our audience. I know why you're considered a cult personality on campus. Some of your concepts are things that we don't think about on an everyday basis. But once you have mentioned them, it gives you a sharp clarity on what should be done next. So thank you so much, Professor Moorthy, and definitely want to sign up for this IIM Bangalore course that CREDAI does, and looking forward to learning from you.
Absolutely, and looking forward to seeing you guys on campus at some point of time, sooner than later. All the very best. All the very best. God bless, and then be in touch.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good day.
Yeah, good day. For all the other attendees, we have Professor P.D. Jose next Saturday, and he's going to talk about strategy. So keep looking at the space. Bye-bye.